Hello, our hangout is live. Thank you for joining us. If you guys are here for sexual aggression and dolphins, the story of Peter, you are in the right place. I have sent Dee the link. Hopefully, we won't have the technical issues that we had 2 weeks ago when I was doing this. But hopefully, that was just because I was trying to use my phone as a hotspot at that time. And our AT&T is back up now, so hopefully we are good. So we're just waiting for Dee to join us, and then we will be good to go. I actually think I'm going to have it together for this episode, long as I don't focus too much on the Saturday Night Live skit that they did about it. That's sort of where the comical area comes into this. But yeah, it's a really bizarre story, and I will just try to save all of that for when Dee comes on. So we're still just waiting for Dee to join us. I want to thank you guys once again for all of your support and for listening to us throughout the years. We've been on since 2014 now, so thank you for those of you who've been there from the beginning and through our blog talk radio years. And like I said, we may at some point return to Blog Talk Radio. There's Dee. Hi, you're here.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. Running a little late, but I'm here. I'm here.
That's okay. That's okay. We just appreciate and thank you for joining us for this very interesting topic tonight.
Very indeed.
I was just explaining to the audience before you came on what the title's about. Well, the title speaks for itself, sexual aggression and dolphins, because that's sort of also just a separate topic, independent of Peter. But the main thing is going to be about Peter. And I guess I need to explain to people how I first found out about Peter. First off, let me put my phone on silence. Okay. I actually found out about Peter this past Thanksgiving. I was sitting at the table while I was waiting on my macaroni and cheese to bake. It was Thanksgiving morning, and I was looking through the Thanksgiving paper at all the ads, but I'm always multitasking and I'm always on YouTube. So I had my cell phone with me. And I think the previous night I was looking at an SNL skit where, Tiffany Haddish had guest starred on there. And I was looking at one of the skits and I really enjoyed it. And because I watched that one, more from that episode, was, I guess, on my dashboard. And so I clicked the one called The Dolphin Who Learned to Speak. And I was just like, okay, what are they going to do? This looks pretty crazy. And they were reenacting what the real researcher lady, she did a documentary, I think like 50 years after what really happened between her and Peter. And so they were just sort of like making fun of that, but at the time I didn't know it was based off something real. And so they just go on to say how they were trying to teach this dolphin to speak, but the dolphin was going through puberty, whatever. So he was, I'll just say it. He was getting erections. And
yeah, basically. But because he was wasn't he, okay, the whole gist, I mean, and I don't know if you jumped into this far into it, because they were trying to teach them how to speak, but they were very young dolphins, correct?
Yes. From my understanding, I think they were, I guess, like in puberty or something like that, so yes, they were young dolphins. And when with the SNL skit, they were like, okay, we're trying to teach this dolphin how to speak. His arousal is getting in the way. So Kate McKinnon, she's really funny anyway. But she's just like, so we just decided to, hey, yank him off and get it out of the way. So
yeah, the way she looked at it, in her perspective, and the way she looked at it was like, okay, we need to get to doing the work. But, he's a teenager, so to speak. I when I read the article, it seemed like in his teenage state, and, like a pubescent, a kid, a young teenager going through all of the hormones and different things like that. So, for him, he was, doing what teenagers do, I guess. Or, I mean, not saying that they all do, but So for him, he was just going through those stages, and for her, she was like, okay, this is normal for him, so let's just do what we have to do, get him past this so we can get him focused again. So she was sort of about, trying to get him focused and let him be, in the moment of done. And this was like an obstacle, a block in the way. And in her mind, she was like, okay, what do I have to do? Because before, didn't she say she used to send him down to the girls? Put him on the elevator and send him to the girls, the other dolphins or something.
Yeah, she was letting him go down there with them, and I guess, he was mating with them, but that was becoming too tedious. I guess it was getting in the way of their research, because they were on a timeline and all this and that. So that's when the real lady, now we're talking about separate from the SNL stuff, because they were just like kind of cracking jokes about it. This was before I knew that it was based off of something real. The real lady named Margaret Howe, she was just like, well, that's too many steps. That's just getting in the way. So let me just sort of, just help him out. Let me manually stimulate him. And, this saves us time from having to just send him down there with the females all the time. And so we just get back to business.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Make sure you got your camera covered, Dee.
Well, I was trying to. I'm having some technical difficulties.
Oh, that's okay. I was making sure you knew, because you didn't want to be.
Yeah, you're seeing the ceiling right now.
Okay. Yeah, but it was just so. It was a bizarre story, but where was my article? Because it was something I found on Bustle, and I don't think this was the one I sent you, Dee, but it kind of explains it, kind of what was going on more perfectly. This took place in 1965, and it was because of a scientist, John Lilly. He was the one who was wanting to do the experiments. It involved having a human woman. She was living day and night with a bottlenosed dolphin, which was Peter, and studying how they communicated, and even trying to teach Peter how to speak. At the time, Margaret Howe, who was the research assistant, she was 23 years old, and she was a Virgin Islands native. And this is where that the lab where her and Peter were, it was set up in the Virgin Islands. Let's see, where does it go from there, which is just kind of very awkward. But according to the Telegraph, Howe is the subject of an upcoming documentary. Now, this actually came on back in 2014, so this isn't like new or anything. For 6 weeks, she lived in almost total isolation with Peter in a villa that had been flooded with 22 inches of seawater. First off, I don't think I could have made it for 6 weeks in there like that.
Yeah, because they literally redid the house, and they turned it sort of into an aquarium.
Yeah, pretty much.
Because she slept in a hammock, right? She slept in a hammock.
I think they said they had some type of mattress it was a hanging mattress.
Yeah, and
protected by a shower curtain.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking, okay, this is dedication. This is some dedication. But yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Go on, Jay.
So yeah, they were in there, 22 inches of seawater. The water was deep enough for Peter to swim in, but it was shallow enough for her to wade in. And then she even had a desk suspended from the ceiling, which allowed her to work and write in her journal out of the water. Let's see, she ate canned food, so there was no need for deliveries. And she and Peter followed a regular daily routine, untouched by the outside world. They had English lessons. They say that began at 8 a.m. 10 a.m. they had playtime, and more lessons occurred at 12 and 3, with feeding sessions and more playtime in between. And they said even Peter, he liked to watch TV, and he enjoyed playing fetch with balls and towels. But it's just that side of it, just, I guess you would not think to solve that issue in that way. And I do get that he was sort of starting to get aggressive with her, because let's see here what it says. Over time, Peter developed genuine affection for Howe. This is unsurprising given what we know about both dolphins' intelligence and their social behavior. During the 5th week, though, she reported in her diary, Peter begins having erections and has them frequently when I play with him. She became scared as his sexual needs and advances grew more aggressive. noting that dolphins could easily bite her in two. That dolphin could bite her in two. But she ended up taking matters into her own hands, literally. Um, Margaret felt that the best way of focusing Peter's mind back on his lessons was to relieve his desires herself manually. Uh, and we kind of get the gist of what that means. She relieved him.
Yeah, basically. Do you think that, with Peter being a dolphin and because they were pretty much, well, I guess, I don't know, because I was trying to think about, Peter but he wasn't, because he was allowed to go back to the other dolphins that she would send him to go play with when she didn't, want him to, be aggressive towards her. But for him, I don't know. Do you think he saw her as a dolphin?
That's a good question. I don't know, because here's the thing, Dee. He's not the only dolphin, that has done this. I think she is the only well, I'm not going to say that, because there's this guy I did some research on, and he claims he had a 9-month affair with a dolphin.
Okay.
So there are other instances of.
There are other stories, like apparently. Okay.
Yes, of human sexual contact, and this guy, he says that the dolphin initiated it. The dolphin's name was Dolly. We may save that one to go with the bestiality one in 2 weeks from now, but he claims he had a 9-month affair with this dolphin.
Well, it's not. I'm not saying that it's common, but it's not uncommon to hear that people have those types of relationships with animals. It's something that you hear on a regular basis, or that you won't. But it's so it's not something that it's just completely unheard of. It's not in the realm of normal per se. So it's just, I was wondering, sitting here thinking, I wonder if Peter thought of, he would go with the other dolphins, whatever, but thinking that this person or this, because I don't know if you want to say he saw her as a human, because can he say what a human is, that whole thing. But did he see her as like, this is my friend, or this is my favorite friend, or maybe he just accepted her for who she was, probably, and who she was what he liked the most, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. It just makes me think.
Yeah, because you don't know like what the dolphins are seeing the people as, because there's other dolphin I was reading about named, I think his name was Stinky. Mm-hmm. Where is it? And this was in the in the Cayman Islands. A frisky dolphin who swims near the Cayman Islands apparently has the hots for humans. And there's a video of it. The dolphin, who was nicknamed Stinky, the loner dolphin, has one purpose in mind: getting busy with scuba divers. In the clip the guy posted on YouTube, let's see, Stinky pushes the human down to the bottom of the ocean floor, a distance that could have been about 400 feet. And then it also pushed the guy's friend down to the bottom too. It was being very affectionate and randy with the person and rubbing its body along the back before trying to roll on top of the man and then pushing him back to the surface. So there have been other instances of this. So I don't know. So I don't know if they're seeing people as potential dolphins, or maybe they don't care. But actually, from what I'm hearing, just like people, dolphins can also have sexual relations for reasons other than just procreation. They also.
Okay. Well, you think about it, because I think dolphins are, right up there with humans, intellectual wise and reasoning, and they're very. I was reading something where they were saying that on the level of humans, dolphins are at a, if not equal level, or something to that effect, or something like that, where their reasoning and their things are similar. Don't quote me on that, but I was reading something to that effect.
Yeah, they're very intelligent animals, and this scientist guy who first wanted to do this, he started off by studying their brains at first, because he was doing research and stuff on his own, before Margaret Howe got involved, and he set up the lab in St. Thomas. And I think he had some different backers. He had NASA, and he had like 2 other organizations who were kind of like backing him, I guess, and like financing it. But unfortunately, it did not end well for Peter, that their funding got kind of pulled. And I think when word got out about this whole masturbation thing with the dolphin and all this stuff, it kind of also tainted the research anyway.
Yeah.
It becomes an ethical issue.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's unfortunate. I mean, because the thing about it, what was I reading where they said that the funding was pulled and then they were transferred to someplace in Miami, was it? And I'm pretty sure they were saying that facility was not as conducive to an environment that he was used to. Here with, of course it's not, because he's probably back into a tank, and it's probably not stimulating as far as having that person there or other dolphins or anything like that. So for him and his connection to her, just like you would make a connection to another person or something, when you take that away and then your whole environment changes. Just like you have an animal and you take an animal out of a certain environment and you put them in a different environment, they become depressed, that nature. So I guess that can be expected.
Yeah, I'm sure he missed her terribly. And then of course the Lily guy, he later went on to have been his research got tainted in other ways, because they were saying that at some later point he'd start giving some of the dolphins LSD.
I think because he started doing because he did studies on himself, didn't he? He injected himself with certain things.
Yes, he did, and I think he even wrote some books, and he sort of got into some stuff with Timothy Leary and all that stuff later, so they were kind of heavy off into that type of thing, because I think once he kind of got shunned by the scientific community, that's when he sort of wrote some kind of new age books, and he sort of, I don't know if they said he went to California, but he relocated and went somewhere else. And but yeah, so I mean, it's really it's fascinating. It's just I don't know, it's just so wackadoodle to me that when I first found out about it. And like I said, of course, watching that skit on Saturday Night Live, and for those of you who want to watch it, I'll provide a link, but it's called The Dolphin Who Learned to Speak. It is utterly hilarious. And then even in some of this stuff that I was reading that has nothing to do with that, it's just like in reading Margaret Howe's notes, just the way she describes it, it's just like, maybe it's just the immaturity in me, but I guess it's just so out there that I just think that would not have been the first thing that would have come to my mind to do. But I don't know,
I mean, I guess for her, in my mind, no, that wouldn't have been the first thing to do. But you know what? I'm not a scientist. I'm not a researcher. I mean, I guess for her, her job and the research done, and to, in order to do that. But and I guess to get him back, she's in her mind, I guess, I don't know, to put things in, she wants to get him back focused. And this is standing in the way. If it was a child, I just give, if a child's like, whatever, and the kid's saying, I just want some candy, da-da-da-da. So you give the child some candy and they're back focused. Yes. Or something. I want to go outside and play. You let them go outside and play. For her, she's like, okay, he's not going to be focused until he can relieve himself. And for her, she's like, okay, well, let me just relieve him. Because I think in her, she would say for him, it was sexual, or,
yes.
For her, it was, not that it was a sensual act, which I would guess it would be, because the act of it, I guess would be sensual in a sense.
It would, but I just still say for me, I think I get her point, and let's just get back to business. But I think the utter ridiculousness of it, and it would also be a part of me, I think, that would have been afraid to do that, because they're kind of big creatures, and I'm just like, just say, okay, well, let me just try this, because then you don't know how it's going to react or whatever, I don't know. So, but I just want to read this last part. But it was just like when she was saying, um, it was, what was she saying? But as Peter's urges grew more frequent, the process of transporting him down to the two female dolphins to satisfy him proved disruptive. That, yeah, that's what I was getting at. It was getting in the way of things. And she felt the best way of focusing his mind back on the lessons was to relieve his desires manually. It was just easier to incorporate that and let it happen. It was very precious. It was gentle. Peter was right there. He knew I was right there. Again, it was sexual on his part. It was not sexual on mine. Sensuous, perhaps. It would just become part of what was going on, like an itch. Just get rid of that. We'll scratch it and we'll be done with it. Move on. And that's really all it was. I was there to get to know Peter. That was part of Peter. I'm actually proud of myself because I was so laughing hysterically at that at one point. So I'm proud of myself to have gotten
you did it. Yeah, it's one of those, you know, it's like a bittersweet thing though, because for me, I'm just thinking, you know, poor Peter, and it's just, you know, it's just sad, the whole research of this whole thing, because I was reading about, I mean, because, and for Peter to be so, you know, it just sounded just sad, because Peter to be, he must have been really connected to her, you know, just which I would think, you know, animals get connected to people. It's you know, you have dogs that get connected to a person. You take a person or someone from, or another dog away from another dog. You hear the stories of two dogs being together, raised together. One passes on and the other one gets sick and becomes depressed, and, you know, because they missed that connection. So I understand that from, I guess, from Peter's perspective, and then just being taken completely out of that environment and put into another environment. And then for him to just go and, as they say, committing suicide of what he did. He just stopped breathing. He didn't breathe anymore, and he sunk to the bottom and didn't breathe, and, you know, just died, you know, in essence. And you know what, there was another story about I came across, Jay. Did you hear about Kathy the dolphin?
I don't think so.
There was another incident similar, not necessarily involving the whole, you know, connection between a dolphin and a human, but you remember the movie, the TV series or whatever it's called Flipper?
Yes.
Okay. They had several dolphins who played Flipper, and one of them's name was Kathy, who played it as well. And she lived, they had them there, and where they would do the show or whatever, they had them there, and I think the show stopped going on or something to that effect, and then they sent them somewhere else, because they were in one environment where the show was going on and probably, you know, conducive to doing the show and other dolphins and you know, lots of attention. I think the show stopped, and they were transferred, or she was transferred to another facility, which was not as, you know, nice. So she didn't have the same stimulant, the same activities, and the same social interaction with people. Became very depressed, and she did the same thing where she held her breath. She actually, they speak of the person that was with her, the trainer. She said that the trainer came to visit. Might not be getting the complete of it, but she swam up to the trainer, or to the person with her. She looked the trainer in the eye, and then she held her breath and sank to the bottom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's really just a heartbreaking one to read her story as well. Kathy, she played one of the flippers when the TV show was on. But so, because I was like, my fascination came with, you know, can dolphins commit suicide? Are they able to actually? Are they doing it in the way that we or that humans, you know, process it? To say, okay, I'm going to end this, whatever it is, whatever. Or are the dolphins, of course they are depressed or whatever. My mind, I'm trying to understand, how are they processing this in a way of saying, I don't want to be in this situation anymore, so I'm going to take myself out of this situation.
Right.
You know, so I don't know. I read that when I was like, oh man, that just broke my heart.
Oh, didn't mean it for it to go to a very sad place.
I know it's not sad, but I went and I was like, I did like a search on Ken Dolphins. That one came up, and I was like, oh God, oh no. But that's what was fascinating to me, and what makes me think is like, are they in the same frame of mind as a human would be? You know, in the classical studies and the research and what people no way out, and they don't want to live this way anymore. Are they processing it that way? That's my like where I'm like, I wonder.
Yeah, it seems like they share a lot in common with us. So I guess it's just they've lost the will to live. You know,
Yeah, exactly. And that's that whole thing of they've lost the will to live, and they process it in knowing their breath, you know. So are they processing it? I'm going to hold my breath because I know I will die, and I will no longer, you know. So it's for me because that's fascinating to me to know. And you'll probably never be able to know that, because then you would have to, know what that dolphin's thinking, feeling, da-da-da-da. So I don't know, but that was just fascinating to me. That is still fascinating to me.
Yeah, that could be a topic in and of itself, maybe for another show.
Mm-hmm. But, this, because when you came to me with this and I was like, what? Come again, Jay?
Yeah, I remember I texted you about it on Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you texted me about it, and I was thinking, okay, this is going to be, because I was thinking, okay, well, maybe it's not what I think it is. It's one of those, maybe it's that clickbait kind of stuff or whatever, or something like that. And I was like, it can't be that. It can't be exactly what Jay said. I'm thinking, no. But then you were like, and I read, I was like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it's it. Yeah.
It is that, because when I was because I always like to look through the comments on certain videos on YouTube, and that's how I found out it was real, because I noticed a couple of people were like, well, that's based off of something real, that's a real study, and someone actually put the link in the comments, and when I clicked it, that's how I came upon one of the real articles, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's really a real story, because I just knew they were just being silly, they were just, but it turned out to be real.
Yeah, and it's and that episode, BBC, is it going to be on? It's coming out in June.
It already actually
okay
of 2014, because I was
okay, that's the article. Okay.
Yeah, at the time it was written, like before it was coming out. But if for anybody who wants to look it up and actually see the real Margaret Howe, I think it's Margaret Howe Lovett now, because I want to say she married the photographer who was there, like taking pictures or videos of her and Peter. But it's called,
and they went back to live in that house. Did you know that, Jay?
I don't think I did.
Yeah, they actually went back to live in the home, if I'm not mistaken, from what I was reading. They went back to live in the home where she and Peter lived for that time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to do a little bit more research on that.
I think so. I could be wrong, but I think I read something about that, where they actually went back and they lived in that home. Not in the water home. I mean, not in the, but just in the home.
Right. Well, for those who may want to check that out, and I may actually look at the documentary myself, it's called The Girl Who Talked to Dolphins. The Girl Who Talked to Dolphins, and it was through BBC. It might be on YouTube. I'm hoping it is, but I'm sure it's something that you could look up. And the Saturday Night Live one, if you just want the comical take on it, is The Dolphin Who Learned to Speak, and it's one of the ones that had Tiffany Haddish on there. So just want to thank you guys for tuning in. I will post links to the SNL episode, and if I can find a link to the actual documentary, I will do that too. And I'll also be posting links to any of the articles that we used in tonight's episode. And thank you, Dee, for joining us. And
I am just, this is probably one of the most interesting topics we've ever discussed.
Yeah, and we've discussed some, and I think that puppy pregnancy syndrome, that was another one.
Yeah, that was right up there. That was right up there, Jay.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in, and we apologize about the cancellation for last night, but we had some severe weather, and we will just see you guys in 2 weeks. We'll be back on April 28th. Enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.
Good night.